All right, so I think anyone who follows cricket knows that when you talk about modern day greats, you really can't avoid talking about Virat Kohli.
No, absolutely not. His impact on the game, it's undeniable.
And that's why we're diving deep today.
Yeah, into the life and career of Virat Kohli.
Exactly. Trying to sort of get beyond just the wins and the centuries and actually trying to understand what's driven him to reach these heights. What are those key moments and influences?
Absolutely. We've got a whole bunch of excerpts here that really cover his journey,
Yeah.
so we should be able to get a pretty complete picture.
Awesome. So let's start right at the beginning then.
Okay.
Born in Delhi, November 5th, 1988.
Right.
That's the start, right?
Yeah. And you know what's really interesting is how early his talent was recognized. I mean, he joined the West Delhi Cricket Academy when he was just 9.
9 years old. Wow.
9 years old. That tells you two things. One, obviously some inherent passion and talent was already there. But two, you got to think about the people around him. His dad, Prem Kohli, gets a lot of credit in the sources. That kind of support, especially that early on, is huge.
Right. It's one thing for the kid to be passionate, but to have that backing from family, that must have been so important.
Absolutely. And that early support, you can kind of see it playing out as he moves through Delhi's domestic cricket scene. He represents at various age levels, steadily progresses.
It's almost like a classic sort of, rise through the ranks.
Yeah, it's not this like overnight sensation story. It's very much a story of building step by step. And then you have this sort of boom, the 2008 Under-19 World Cup.
Ah, yeah, the Under-19 World Cup in Malaysia, leading India to victory. That's got to do something for your confidence.
Oh, absolutely, especially at that age. And it's more than just the batting talent on display. You start to see those leadership qualities that we'll talk about later. What are some of the things that stand out to you about that tournament?
It was more than just winning, it was the way he handled the pressure. Even when things got a bit dicey, there was there was a calmness and a sort of assertiveness, I guess. Almost like even then you could see a captain emerging.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. And you can see that tournament as this springboard.
Yeah.
Because later that year, he makes his ODI debut, August 18th, 2008, against Sri Lanka.
Right. And that's when he officially steps onto the international stage. But from what I read, it wasn't all smooth sailing right from the start.
It really wasn't. The sources are pretty clear about that. There were struggles to cement his spot in the team. I think that's an important part of any athlete's story, right? That ability to handle those early setbacks, keep pushing, and prove yourself.
Yeah, it's easy to just look at the records now and think, oh, it was always meant to be. But those early struggles, I bet they played a huge role in shaping his mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Builds that resilience. And speaking of mindset, that's when we start to see this incredible rise. He just starts dominating, performing consistently across all formats. Test cricket, ODIs, T20s. He's excelling everywhere.
And that's what's so remarkable, right? Because each format requires such different skills, different approaches to be able to switch gears like that. It's not easy.
It's not. And he wasn't just participating, he was excelling. You're talking about a level of technical and mental versatility that is honestly pretty rare in cricket.
And it wasn't long before those comparisons to Sachin Tendulkar started popping up. Early 2010s, it was already happening. Think about the pressure of having that legacy, those expectations on your shoulder.
It's massive. And, speaking of performing under pressure, we have to talk about that 183 he scored against Pakistan in the 2012 Asia Cup. I mean, that was something else.
Yeah, that innings was special. High-stakes match, chasing a big total against arch rivals, and he just comes in and delivers this masterclass.
What was it about that innings that stood out to you? Because for a lot of people, that's when he really announced himself on the world stage.
It was that mix of controlled aggression. India lost a few early wickets. The pressure was on. But he didn't just lash out. It was calculated. He absorbed the pressure, waited for his moments, and then boom, just took over.
Yeah, incredible display of knowing when to attack, when to consolidate. I mean, it was textbook stuff.
And you see that same approach in a lot of his big innings throughout his career. And then, of course, comes the captaincy. Takes over the Test team in 2014. Big shoes to fill following MS Dhoni.
No doubt. Dhoni had been incredibly successful. But Kohli brought his own style. The sources all highlight his aggression, his emphasis on fitness, and, of course, that absolute hunger to win. It was the new era for the Indian Test team.
You could feel the shift. And the results speak for themselves, right? That Test series win in Australia in 2018-19, India's first ever, that's a monumental achievement.
Totally. I mean, Australia historically has been such a tough place to tour, especially for Test teams. To win a series there, it takes something special. It takes talent, obviously, but it also takes a lot of grit, a lot of belief. And Kohli, as captain, he instilled that in the team. And then, of course, there's the ICC World Test Championship final in 2021, another huge achievement under his leadership.
Right. And we have to talk about his captaincy in the limited overs formats, too. Took over in 2017. While a major ICC trophy eluded him, you can't ignore the consistent success they had. Lots of bilateral series wins, always ranked highly.
Exactly. It's easy to focus on those ICC tournaments, and obviously those are the ultimate prize. But maintaining a high level of performance, winning series consistently over a long period, that requires a different kind of leadership. And even after stepping down from captaincy, his presence, his influence on the team is still so strong.
Oh, without a doubt. But let's talk about those numbers for a second, because they're just mind-boggling. I mean, to be one of the fastest to 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, even 11,000 ODI runs, that's ridiculous.
The pace at which he reached those milestones is insane. And it's not just about scoring runs, it's about scoring them quickly, maintaining that intensity for so long. And then on top of that, he's got over 70 international hundreds. That puts him in a category very few have ever reached.
One of the leading run scorers in the history of the game, across all formats. It's hard to even comprehend the kind of dedication and skill that takes. And then the awards, too. Multiple ICC Cricketer of the Year awards.
Those awards aren't just about runs, right? They're a recognition of his overall impact, his dominance, a kind of acknowledgement from the entire cricketing world.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting how the sources also highlight his off-field impact, particularly his focus on fitness. He's almost single-handedly changed the fitness standards in Indian cricket.
Yeah, his dedication to fitness is incredible, and it's definitely had a ripple effect. It's not just about his own performance. He's raised the bar for everyone. Fitness is now seen as essential, and he's a big reason for that shift. And of course, you've got his philanthropy, his business ventures, all that adds to the kind of Kohli brand.
Yeah, and of course you can't talk about Kohli without mentioning his personal life. His marriage to Anushka Sharma in 2017, the birth of their daughter in 2021. It's all part of the story, right?
It is. It's interesting how the lives of these, high-profile athletes, they're so intertwined with their public personas.
Yeah.
But as we sort of wrap up this deep dive, I think it's important to remember that Kohli's legacy isn't just about stats. It's about inspiration, the passion he brings, the discipline, the never-give-up attitude.
100%. He embodies this pursuit of excellence, this constant desire to improve, and that resonates with people, whether you're a cricket fan or not.
Absolutely. So we've gone from those early days in Delhi to his current status as a global icon. We've seen the dedication, the leadership, the incredible achievements.
And I think that brings us to a really interesting question for our listeners. Given how consistently Kohli has performed across formats for so many years, what does his career tell us about what it takes to achieve greatness? Not just in cricket, but in any field. It's that relentless pursuit of improvement that seems to be the defining factor.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Like how much of it is talent versus just that sheer will to be the best.
Yeah. Food for thought for sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.